what is your role on Doug's new album, Black Walls and William Hall? What role do you play?
Spiritual advisor,
Yeah.
mostly.
Yeah. Excellent.
There's a lot of bass playing and some guitar playing.
Yeah.
And later we can talk about the harmonicas for Margarita's scandal.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
What's that?
So,
Talk about it now.
I play some really poor harmonica on one song. It's not that bad, but he's in a weird key, and I only have harmonicas in like the standard kind of A, C, G, D, and we needed A flat, which nobody plays harmonica in A flat. Co-writer on one of the songs. It was a song that we did in Atland, and he just loved the melody, and so I recorded the guitar parts and bass parts by myself, and there's a special guest on that song. I don't know if I can spoiler. I was like, I don't want to give spoilers away, but I will say this: I've never been more nervous recording in my life.
Oh.
Knowing that he was going to have to play drums to my sloppy guitar and bass playing.
Oh, it sounded great.
But it sounds great.
Yeah.
I got the whole finished song sent to me by Doug, and it sounds amazing.
It's so great that I have a friend like Doug, because we do have this shared love of haunted houses. And one of the things that always drew me to Doug, like in the beginning when we first met, was talking about our mutual love of these old haunts from the 80s. And so I get to play trumpet on his record. Doug and I were on the Great Monsters Walk These Halls documentary that was put together about Mystery Manor. We love Mystery Manor. Rest in peace, Mystery Manor. So yeah, just sharing this love of haunted houses and October and Fun Fright with Doug. He's just like my haunted house buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you went to a haunted house?
Not only did I go to it, I contributed this mask to one of the years. But it was the first haunted house that my kids got to go to. Like all three of my kids, their very first haunted house was Thriller, then Sunday, Bloody Sunday, over at Doug's house. And they still talk about it. We every Halloween we pull out the photos of them as kids going to Doug's house and them being a little scared, but also laughing at the end of it. I mean, just how much fun they had. So yeah, Doug's been super influential, not only in my life, but in my children's life. So he's multi-generational.
Local fabulous musician.
Hello.
We're here to talk about.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, here to talk about the new Fizzle Like a Flood album. What is your role? What is the role that you play in the new Fizzle Like a Flood album?
My role in this one is on this particular record is interesting. It's odd because I went to go record some guitar for I think the song Black Walls with Doug at his parents' house, like on the lake.
Oh sure.
And it was right, remember the date well, because most people do, it was March 14th, 2020.
Right.
We played the night before, my band at the time at Brothers, and it was kind of like, oh, should we cancel the show? So it was an odd time, and it's like, well, I don't have any problem coming out to just do some guitars at your place. And so I did that, and that was kind of my start, and I think I'm like on 2 or 3 songs, and then I did some at home during that time period too. So I think this might be my first one where I'm actually playing on some songs. So yeah, I get to play guitar on Black Walls, and oh boy, I don't know the name of the other one.
Yeah.
It's Greta.
Oh, Greta, sure.
Yeah,
Greta.
yeah, and that one was fun. I really liked my part on that one because I just did something at random, and I know Doug's kind of like me, and you. Very clear artistic vision.
Yeah.
We're very similar in that way. So anytime someone might deviate from the path, it's always like, hey, I had an idea, and obviously, I'm going to do what you want to do, but check this out. And he really liked it. I think that's like at the beginning of that. So those 2 songs were great, and I know what that was interesting is I did an album kind of over that initial 2020 pandemic that called Hard, and it was kind of like. I like that record a lot. I made it at home, but while we were tearing things down after tracking Doug's guitar stuff all day, like I played just like a riff on my guitar, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And I kept playing it, and then I put my voice memos out and recorded it and just played it a lot. And then I actually think I have the memo, and like Doug's in the background, like saying like, oh, he's writing a song. Like here we go, I was gonna do a song. And that was the first song. Like that was the first idea of what became that album. Had I not done that session, I wouldn't have wrote that song, really, because it just came from the riff.
Yep.
longtime friend of Doug
Yes.
Tabork, Fizzle Like a Flood.
Longtime friend, longtime fan.
And you know about the new album, of course,
Yep.
because you play a role on the album, right?
Play the role of sporadic background harmony vocal stacking.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Although I don't know where those harmonies are going to end up. Might leave that to the genius of Douglas.
Yeah, he'll put them in where they need to go, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you.
I know that you have a creative role with Doug in his haunted houses.
Right.
And that you were very, very integral in the 3 years that he had a home haunt. Can you talk about that?
I don't remember if he asked me to do it or if I just weaseled my way in, because I think that most people I know have always wanted to do a haunted house. I mean, that was a thing, and people have done it, and then we're like, oh, so much. But Doug, when he pulled it off in his basement, I just was jumped on the chance to be able to get in there and be a haunter. It was the greatest day. It was great. It was so fun, and I just couldn't believe that it was as elaborate it was, and that you can actually pull that thing off. And it was so fun to run people through, strangers and friends, through this thing, and they had such a good time. So when it became a tradition, I really wanted to do all the photo ops.
Yeah,
so I couldn't really
memorable.
build it. Yeah, I couldn't build a thing, and I could, it can be in it, but I wanted to have a photo op so that people can take that away. And so we started building stuff and matching it to what Doug was doing with the haunts.
Remind us of some of the ones.
First
some
year
of the
we
props you
did, it was Ride the Lightning. So I built a full-size electric chair, and we had a little setup that looked like the cover of Metallica's album out in front. And so people would take pictures of themselves getting electrocuted.
That one was really. That one was really cool.
Second one we did was more of a Back to the Future thing. So I built Marty's big giant speaker that he has at the beginning of the movie, and it was just this giant guitar speaker. And we built I think somebody built the guitar. And
Jim.
So Jim built the guitar, right? And so we collabed on that, and it was that was the second prop that we did for a photo album. So.
Yeah.
But it was nice, and it was nice enough to give me the this. But I think he's never let go of his musical side. I've always been fascinated by him. First off, because of Fizzle Like a Flood. People don't know that he was an international kind of known musician just in town, but he was known internationally. Had a fan base and everything. I've always respected that and admired that. And then he kept doing his thing no matter what.
Yeah.
And he was able to do it as a drummer too, because that's the big thing. He's a drummer. And I'm a drummer. I can't play. There's no strings involved here. There's not going to be any of that. But that he was able to create music on an ongoing basis like that, based off of the things that inspired him. And it didn't matter what sounds were popular. He just kind of stuck with his, because his was kind of timeless. His kind of style is kind of timeless, and it will, never be not applicable now in music. So
I love hearing that.
And I found the cheapest one I could find, and it was not that cheap. And he's like, I'll buy you a top shelf margarita. I'm like, it's a deal.
Doug and I have known each other for so long, and even before I met him, I was kind of a fan of the music. Many, many years ago, Tim McMahon wrote something about Golden Sand, and I read it, and it sounded fascinating. I went and listened to a track, and early on, I learned about his history with Matchbook Shannon. Mm-hmm. And oddly enough, my sister, who's 5 years older than me, had that CD when I was in high school.
Really?
And would listen to it, and I thought that was a cool band. So he kind of was a bit of a rock star, just because he did I really like their version of, I'm a big Simon Glenner fan, so Matchbook Shannon did that song Double Joe, and I thought it was just the coolest. Anyway, long story short, 20 years in the future,